business has a way of having you do some internal work because you have to improve, like you have to change your vibe. Like there's things that you have to change about yourself in order to do business or entrepreneurship. And I didn't, what it did, it opened up some things about me that I had swallowed down for years.
And welcome everyone to this week's Consulting Matters podcast. I am your host, Betsy Jordan, and I am in the middle of a very special series that I have on the show, which I am calling Where Are They Now? Which is my opportunity to catch up with some of my clients that I worked with several years ago so that you can hear what it looks like, or actually not hear what it looks like, so you can see what it looks like to sustain your success over time and how things evolve. So this week I have on the show J. Kyle Howard. So we worked on his business back in 2020. So like Denise, he was also a CIO trying to figure out how do I package up what I do to relate to other people who might want a technology solution. And he got stuck with his message. And that is when we started to work together. We clarified his message. And then when he went in a totally different direction, and I think he might have pendulum swung in another direction. So I'm really excited to have him on the show so you could hear more about like how your deepening understanding of yourself, really
Yes.
kind of shifts things around and brings you back to home and then maybe in a new packaging. So without
Yes.
further ado, welcome to the show, Jay Kyle.
Thank you. I am happy to be here. It has been quite the ride, an
So
interesting journey.
bring me back to, okay, so we did start working together in the pandemic, I think is when it
Yes.
was. So let's like ground everybody in your story. And if you missed his story, he was one of my early podcast guests, and he talked a lot about overcoming imposter syndrome and creating your dream business. Is an amazing episode. I'll put the link in the show notes. But for those who don't know you, ground us in your background and where you were at around 2020 in your business build process.
Okay. So in 2020, I didn't realize it at the time, but what I needed more than anything else was healing. And, just based on the conversations we had and the focus, business has a way of having you do some internal work because you have to improve, like you have to change your vibe. Like there's things that you have to change about yourself in order to do business or entrepreneurship. And I didn't, what it did, it opened up some things about me that I had swallowed down for years. Um, just, everybody hears their thing, but there was just some personal traumas that I tried to just ignore. And the entrepreneurship ride kind of opened those things up. And so what I really needed in order to move forward was to settle those things.
Yeah.
I was trying to take those things and just kind of put them in my backpack and just move forward. But the funny thing is, nothing ever goes undone, and I had to address those. And so I kept flip flopping. Maybe I'll focus on this, or maybe I'll focus on this, and I wound up trying to become my own personal guru. And because those things were starting to surface, and a lot of it I couldn't articulate. Like, something's wrong, but I can't really say what it is. But as we kept going through the process, the entrepreneurial process and the marketing, it just kept bringing up some like these brick walls that I kept running into, and I just had to stop and refocus. And so that's where we were, in 2020. And so I decided that I needed to leave Richmond, Virginia, and move out to San Diego, where I had been briefly and felt at home there, and it just seemed like it was calling me. And so I wound up packing up whatever I could fit in my vehicle and took a 33-day drive out here to San Diego. And, I did bring a little residue with me, but through that process, I was able to really discover the thing that has been driving my personal career. And it's been a 30-year problem for me. And on the way we work through the entrepreneurial process, it just kind of gave me a step-by-step way to uncover this 30-year problem that I've always seen it. And I've been in multiple different businesses, oil and gas, multimedia, across different industries. And that problem existed everywhere I went. It almost sounded like the problem was me, but I mean, it was an operational thing that I saw. And it shows up as uh, delays in project completions, people disconnected from outcomes. Like these are things that are no one accounts for. Like it doesn't show up anywhere, but it impacts the business ability to perform. And so, and I've seen it everywhere, and I just didn't know how to articulate it in a way that I could create a business off of that until now. And I just kind of figured that out.
So it sounds like back in 2020, or maybe like a little bit before. So you were a chief technology officer
Yes.
before we met. And
Yes.
it sounds like your desire to go on your own entrepreneurial path is like on an there was external reasons why, but really on your standpoint, it was like it was an internal thing. Like something was
Yes.
going on in you that
Yes.
was drawing you to do something else, but you didn't know what it was.
Right.
And it sounds like the brand positioning and messaging process that we did was sort of like a container
Yes.
to kind of
Yes.
work through some of those issues.
Yes. I followed the process. I had my goal that was bigger than me, becoming the chief information officer for this multi-billion-dollar organization. And the day that I got the promotion was the worst career day of my life because it didn't fix anything. I was still dissatisfied. Like I could always, put on a suit and tie and go to work. That was my costume. And
Yeah.
so the work me could leave that personal me at home. And so I thrived there. But after hours, man, it had gotten so bad when I got the promotion, I stepped out of the CEO's office and I thought, there's not one person I can call to celebrate this with. And I did it. Because my personal life, I just didn't want to engage in it. Work was always available for me, and that's what I focused on. And so I didn't build those relationships up. I didn't even understand. Like an interesting thing happened this year. I've been carrying this weight of feeling unloved in my own family. But
Hmm.
my mom just celebrated her 90th birthday, and I went back begrudgingly, and I walked her in, and now, I'm open and transparent. This love just hit me in the face. It was so overwhelming. I literally had to run in the bathroom because I didn't know what to do with all these feelings. And it hit me that people had been loving me. I just didn't understand or recognize that that's what that was. Because in my mind, it was something else. Like I was expecting something else. So, it's just those things. And before you can really be successful outside, the inside has to, just be available to you that way.
Yeah. So for you, the whole business build process was an inner journey. And
Yes.
it sounds like it was more less about like what am I going to achieve and more around who am I becoming? And
Yes.
then I'm going to achieve more of the authentic thing
Yes.
out of that.
Right. And you asked the perfect questions for the business reasons, but they internalized for me to make me look inside. And so I guess you became my psychologist or therapist.
Well, apparently I did not realize like how reflective my process it really
Yes.
is. Because it's like so much of like part of like who I am. And
Yes.
and I've been noticing like a trend, like some people are really uncomfortable with it. And I had a woman on my podcast who does a lot of stuff on, failure resistance or what have you. And
Yeah.
she told me about this research that she had heard where if that people like feel like looking at themselves is like
Mhm.
their feeling about it is on the level of like their feelings about getting electric shocks. And I'm
Yeah.
like, really? I'm putting this together for my people. Like I should really be more sensitive about what I'm doing here. Like I didn't know I was inviting people to get electric shocks, like having that kind of experience, but it is hard work to look
Yes.
within and figure out like, well, what is here? And
Right.
why is it that I was chasing a dream that really wasn't mine?
Yes.
It's somebody else's dream, and how do I connect in with what
Yes.
actually
Yeah.
who I am and what I want? That's a really hard thing. Like I think we
It
all
is.
say, who am I? I want to know who I am and what I want. But do we really want to know who we are and what we want? Like I think it's like push pull. Do we really want to know the answer?
And you said something key too, because in that process you realize like what thoughts of mine, like we've been fed who we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to believe. Like our entire lives, people are telling us these things. And so you go off on your path to chase this dream. It's not even yours. Like it's not
Yeah.
your thing. It's just someone projected this that this is what you should be. And then when you get there, you're like, huh. That wasn't it. And so you switch careers, or you wind up living this miserable existence, like you're on a treadmill running, but you're not getting anywhere. And Betsy, you show up at the right time when people really need that, right? And I know you show up for a reason, and it may not be the reason that people need, but you pull that out. And I've seen it with other people as well, like in our group, where the questions, it just make you internal, and it comes out in a way, and the focus is on the business stuff, but we can't have anything personal until we fix that thing. And wherever, so you've been like this muse, you've been inspirational and thought provoking, and you kind of get down in there where, and you do it in a way that's sort of undercover. Like no one expects you to get that deep. I didn't, but it's just the way that you approach things. And you kind of, when you realize that she asked this deep question, it's too late because it's in there. Now you got to address it.
Yeah.
Where before I could keep people at a distance, but you have this disarming approach of asking questions that just make you think. And I felt really bad because I felt like, why can't I come up with a thing? Because I was just way too distracted up here, just trying to fix all the things that was going on inside. And
Well,
but
so
lesson.
I'll tell you why I do what I do, and
Mhm.
because I've been thinking a lot about like this whole idea around like where the reflection and where some of the process comes from. And I really believe like mid-career people who kind of hit the top and wonder what it's for and say, I want to I want to ditch it all and I want to start my own business. It's
Yeah.
never really about their career. It's
True.
always about their lives. And when I
Yes.
was leaving Disney, I know that that was what my journey was all about. And I got really attached to the hero's journey, but that Joseph Campbell really captured. And it's like I've always seen the process of the work that we're actually going through as we reinvent ourselves in this like more authentic kind of expression through the
Mhm.
concepts of the heroic journey. And it's like so I understand like that, like to me the business build process or the brand messaging and positioning, like that's the external work to do the
Yes.
internal work. Just like, when Luke went on the journey to become a Jedi, the
Right.
real work was of him dealing with his dad, and his
Yeah.
lineage and all of those issues. And I think that that's where the challenge is that, well, like you said, it's like this corporate kind of like responsibility. It's like it's armor and it
Yes, it
protects
is.
you. And then when you leave it, well, you don't have it anymore. Like, so you
Right.
have to kind of decide. And I think that's where people get kind of double-minded in their business is that
Yes.
they're going to be like, I want to let that go, but now I'm going to go subcontract because like I can't let that go.
Right.
And,
Right.
like, so now they're in that push-pull, and I think that's why, like, it took me forever to pivot my business from consulting to what I do now is, like, just
Yes.
because, I outgrew consulting and I no longer loved it, but it's
Right.
like, but this is what I know. This is who
Yeah.
I am, and everyone's like, "Well, why would you ever give it up? You can command a room of a bunch of executives." I'm like, "Yeah, and ooh, here lies Betsy. She can, that'll be on my gravestone. Here lies Betsy. She can command a room of executives. That is my legacy. That is what
Right.
I'm known for,
Right.
rather than
Yeah.
what you're talking about here. Like, I'm thrilled to hear that it was the personal journey because I think that's the deeper
Yes.
intention behind my work.
Yes.
I would much rather see you become more of your authentic self without the armor and experience of the love from your mother that you never
Right.
experienced before. Like, that's a lot more powerful.
Yes.
And here
And
lies
that.
Betsy, or here lies Jay. He was a really great technology officer. Like, he
Yeah.
really knew how to pick the right systems for the
Yes.
organization that would scale up their products and service delivery. Like, is that what you
Yeah.
want to be known for? Is that your legacy?
Yeah. And that's an important point too, because there's all these books and things about how to heal, but no one tells you what to do after you heal, right? If you define yourself by all your past traumas and tragedies and things, like that's your identity. So when you drop that, now you're standing in this space like, well, who the hell am I now? What do I
Yeah.
do with this? Right? So the reinvention comes in, and you have really nothing to kind of pinpoint on because it's all new, you know?
So your first business that you wanted to try on was a technology business, and then
Yes.
we discarded that. And then
Yes.
you went into spiritual transformation business which it sounds like it was not your final destination business.
No, it
So
wasn't.
talk to me about, because that came with a name change
Yes,
and a lot of like hanging out on
yes.
the beach. I think you mentioned some gummies that came along with it, which by the way, I was in Denver for a little while, so I know about the gummies,
Yeah. I have this thing where, whenever I go through sort of a personal transformation and I'm kind of vibing on a new thing, I give that thing a new name, right? Because it's no longer who I used to be, right? So I just added like AH to J, and that confused a lot of people because they didn't know to call me J, Ja, Ya, Hob, whatever, right? But that was I was having a cocoon moment where I had to kind of go internal with the idea that at some point I would come out as a butterfly. But in that cocoon moment, I really needed to get in touch with my personal, emotional, spiritual self. And so my personality was JAH. And that's how I refer it because it kept me mindful of that. And, and I didn't know what was going to come out of the cocoon. And so when I got here to California, the first time I gone to the beach, I actually fell asleep on the beach and I woke up in panic mode because I fell asleep in public. Like it was just something you don't do, right? But no one was really bothering me. And I go, oh, this is what peace is. And I
Hmm.
discovered that. And, it was just this wonderful thing that I didn't have to be anybody, like nobody knew me here. I didn't have to be anyone for anyone. And depending on who I talked to from my past, I'm either Jeffrey, because that's who they reframed me as, Jay. New folks know me as Ja. And so, depending on who I'm talking to, I got these three different personalities that they've met, and they've never crossed paths before. So I could always tell when someone, you know, and so and always I thought it was just kind of funny to me, but it just kind of helped me with my mindset and where I needed to stay focused. But um, I had this interesting story where there was a seminar here, and I had an opportunity to get a job with Northrop Grumman, and they were both on the interview, and this conference was at the same time on the same day. And so I sit down and I'm thinking about this, and I say a little prayer about it. I'm like, I need to know what to do. And I have always been a follower of my internal voice. And the voice said to me, you have always chosen money. You've never chosen yourself, and you've never
Hmm.
chosen me. And I go, wow, right? Because I would have done the same thing I'd done in Virginia, the same thing I'd done in Baltimore, chase after the money. And I know how that story ends. So instead, I go to the conference, and I get to the conference, and I notice I'm the only black guy in this conference. And the reason I normally don't focus on that, but I just noticed. Well, then this other black guy comes in. He's about 5'5". He looks like he's wearing his big brother's suit, like the suit was too big. Like he literally stood out. And so voice
Well,
goes,
did he
go back.
stand out? He was 5'5". I don't
He
know.
was
Did he
5'5"
stand
and had
out?
on this gigantic suit. Like his suit was
Oh,
too big. Right?
oh, I see.
Now, I'm the custom suit guy, so I noticed stuff, right? So the voice goes, go back and talk to him. So I go back and I introduce myself, and I said to him, you have a word for me. And he goes, let's talk after this meeting. We're in this hotel. So after this meeting, he and I are sitting at this table in a hotel lobby, surrounded by people, but for whatever reason, nobody came around us. He started asking me questions, and I started to get defensive, but just listen, just listen. So he said, "Where are you living?" I said, "Well, right now I'm living in my car because I'm trying to save some money, and I could get a room, but right now I'm in San Diego. I got a cooler full of food. I go to the library and I write during the day. I go to the gym, work out, shower. Like the only thing is I'm just sleeping in my car." And I knew it was temporary, but this is just something that I needed to do to just kind of reduce the noise. And I still had some residue that I need to get rid of. This man looked me in my eye, and I hadn't had someone look me in the eye and say this to me since I was in the military. He looked me in the eye and he said, you are fucked up. And
Wow.
I said, I know that. I just don't know how to stop. And when I acknowledge that, everything, my son's death, uh, uh, um, sexual abuse, like all these things that I had just stuffed down came out.
Mm.
And it was this release. I hadn't cried since I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. And all of this stuff just came out of me uncontrollably, right? And I didn't know I needed to hear that, but that's exactly what I needed to hear. A complete stranger said this to me in a hotel lobby, and it was the best thing that I ever heard in my life because it just freed me up. Like it was such a release to kind of do that. And as I'm a child of the 60s, right? Boys don't cry. So I'm just eating all these things and not discussing it, not telling anybody about it. And I'm just walking through life. And I found work to be the one place that I could hide out. I could put on a suit and tie and become this other personality because I had things to do. But when that day was over, I had to go home. And I would find myself sitting in the office. Everybody's gone because I didn't want to leave the building.
Wow.
And just having that experience, and I literally went, and this is no lie, within 15 days, I had 2 consulting jobs. Uh, I moved into this high-rise building. Like right now, I'm on a 35th floor. I can see the Pacific Ocean and the harbor. Like it turned just like that when I just kind of had the release. And so that was, I called it my John the Baptist moment. Well, obviously, J was accomplished, or JAH accomplished the goal. And so now, I need to eat and have shelter. So I had to bring Jay back, because he was a professional guy. He understands the business world and he can function in that world where the other was just kind of, just trying to get it together and sitting on the beach and gummies and watching the waves and people and just kind of letting life kind of pass by. But it was a healing process for me.
So it sounds like the JAH business was really about like it really wasn't about like how I'm going to help other people. It was just the
Yes,
opportunity for you to kind of come home to yourself and
absolutely.
release all of this. And then the authentic business. Cause sometimes like we
Yes,
pendulum swing over and say, oh, it's two businesses and I'm going to be like a guru. And it's like, but that's not my authentic self. Like not all
correct.
of us are born to be, Tony Robbins guru kind of people.
Yes,
But now it's like,
absolutely.
now I'm coming back to home.
Yes, yes,
So so tell me about this new business that you have. So it's not exactly the technology that you were imagining or your consulting organization specifically on tech. What is this business? And you kind of teased that you were trying to get an answer to a question for 30 years. I don't know if this business is
yes.
reflecting that. Like tell me a little bit about what this business is.
So this started, my first job, corporate job, was with Crown Central Petroleum. And I kind of lied my way into it because the CIO, I was actually a personal trainer to the CIO, and they had bought these GL300s, were the first business desktops by IBM, and he had about 320 that he had to build. And he goes, "My staff is too busy. They're doing it." I said, "Well, I could do it." And I had no idea what this was, but and so I was training him on Thursday, and he wanted me to come over on Monday, which gave me 3 days to kind of figure this out. So I go to B. Dalton Bookstore. I'm really dating myself. And I go to B. Dalton Bookstore and I
Yeah, I
buy a
don't know if they
computer
have it
for
anymore.
dummies book. Well, I get
Wow.
a computer for dummies book, and I consume this thing the entire weekend. I show up to this guy's work on Monday, and he has this gigantic room with all these boxed desktops. And so I take one out, and lo and behold, there are instructions in there on how to set these things up. Boy, I mean, I hit the jack. So I'm running these things, and these dudes think I'm brilliant because I'm churning these things out. All I'm doing is following step by step and to get all this work done. Well, in the process of that's was the time that I lost my son, and he offered me a position in Virginia. So I go down to Virginia. Well, while they were doing that, SAP had just launched, And the leadership team had gone out to Germany, and they came back with this thing that, SAP is going to create. It's the one platform that this business can use, and everybody knows now that there's no one platform that can satisfy everybody in the business. But they thought this was the thing, and so they were asking questions. Yes, if anyone had questions, and I said, well, I was riding down the street and I noticed you have two gas stations a block apart, and the prices are different. Why? And so the CEO asked, well, is anybody can answer his question? So one of the managers at one of the gas stations said, well, what we do, we look to see what our competitors are doing, and we offer 1 to 2 cents less. I'm expecting some scientific algorithm thing that they would do and say, to create this. No, we just see what this guy's doing, and we just drop the price. And I'm going, well, that's ridiculous. Well, so my next question was, so if someone goes to get gas and he spends $1, how does some part of that dollar show up in my paycheck? What I was trying to understand was, what is my value to this company? Like, how did you arrive at my salary? How does what I do allow this person to fill his tank up with gas? And no one could tell me that. No one in accounting, and I thought they would have figured this out. And the reason why they hadn't, because all the businesses were operating, even to this day, on the old business model, that industrial age business model, where you have all these business silos. The people in their silos only focused on the silos. No one was connected internally. No one was connected directly to the outcome that the customers had. Anything you know about the customers up in marketing. And I thought, so there is no value stream, soup to nuts. And every business starts internally and they stay that way. We have the gas station, we're done, but they don't know what was the outcomes, the desired outcome of their customers. Did they have a good experience? And, do you have any evangelists? And so that was the thing that bothered me for 30 years. How do you get the business totally aligned in a systematic way so that everyone understood that at the end of the day, we are all customer service reps. We do it with our particular roles, but we're all focused on this one individual. And I call him the MIP, or most important person, or primary value recipient. And we need to know everyone should know who this is, because now my job has purpose. When I go to work, I know exactly who I'm serving and how. And so I'm connected to this outcome, all of us in the organization. But the old business model does not operate through that. It operates on silos, management, and focusing on tasks. And so I created this new business model, and I call it the opportunity systems architecture. And it's based off of the fact that the thing that made America stand out was the fact that they did not suppress genius. They allowed genius to flow. Now, America still had its problems with people not liking other people, but overall, it didn't suppress genius like other countries, and that's what elevated America above everyone else. So this architecture built in so that it creates an opportunity system so that everyone can succeed by being aligned to the next guy. And so like from the industrial age, you had your widgets. This guy made this bolt and this guy made the thing that's supposed to be around the bolt, but there's no handoff. And so the output, we may be needing 10, but somewhere along the line, we're only getting 5 out, and we just accept that. We accept the fact that projects overrun or not completed, or what's delivered was not what was asked for. We accept that, but we shouldn't, because we're just not connected together as an organization. We just have this one building and all these different business units who are not connected in a systematic way so that value can flow. And instead of building the business from the inside out, where you have your C-level team creating these business goals and things that doesn't get trickled down to the lower folks, but they just have these meetings. Well, now we start from the outside in. We're servicing. We want to make sure that the desired outcome of our customers, our most important person, that person is the one who repeat business, tells his friends, that we're looking for that individual. And so we tailor our business around this person and we start there. What do they need? That creates your business goals, your mission, all those other things.
So basically, in a nutshell, is you're trying to help organizations become truly customer centric.
Yes. Through alignment,
Yeah.
through systematic
Through,
alignment. Yes.
so what's so interesting? So there's so many thoughts that I have into it because like that's a lot of like what I do in brand messaging and positioning is
Yes.
like making it a client centric business. But when I'm hearing you talk about it, it's like you had business idea number one that we tried
Yes.
on back in 2020, which was about you doing consulting on technology.
Yes.
Then we tried on business number two, which was about how to help the business talk to IT and IT talk to the business and how to
Yes.
bring that alignment between IT and the
Yes.
business. And then we went down the transformational coaching kind of, place
Yes.
that, then like Jay Kyle, or
Yes.
JH was sitting on the
Mhm.
beach, with his gummies. And now we're coming back to the business number two, but
Right.
in a much more elevated perspective. Like
Yes.
it's not just about getting technology and the business to talk to one another. It's strategic aligning the business around the customer, which
Yes.
I think was the underlying thing, which probably has something to do with even like your spiritual journey of like how everything connects, like looking at things in the world in a more
Yes.
systemic way, bringing that mindset in. And you might not have ever seen it until you kind of like went
Absolutely.
into the other business. And
Yes.
now it makes sense. Is like, this is our,
Yes.
like, it's coming back to purpose, like the
Yes.
organization's purpose. I always feel this. I feel the same way, like with the brand positioning is, I feel like the purpose is your clients. Like we
Yes.
try to make our purpose like some idea or
Yeah.
an expertise. And it's like, no, but our purpose is our clients, like in their journey of transformation. What we sell is not ourselves. We are selling their
Right.
transformation. Like that is what it's all about. And I feel like you're just doing this on a bigger level, with an organization. It's like, how do you get really clear on who you help, and why they want to work with
Yes.
you and what the value is to them. And now how do we get all the pieces of the organization to align around that?
Yes.
It's not even aligning to each other. It's like the center is the customer, all these pieces align to the customer, and by virtue of
Yes.
that, they align with one another.
Yes.
I kind of see it like a wagon wheel. Like I'm
Yes.
visualizing what you're doing as a wagon wheel. Here's the
Yes.
customer, here's all the spokes, here's all the different departments that they all connect this way, and they all connect through the middle.
Correct. And so, like right now, I consult with Veterans Affairs, and I'm helping them implement this platform, ServiceNow. They've been at this for like 8 years, right? And the entire focus of the IT shop is to implement this thing, but it's not connected to the veteran. They say we're here to service the veteran, but there's no one who can tell you how this system helps serve that. And I see it, and I've been seeing it for my entire career, and I just couldn't put it together in a way because the one thing, so I call these value leaks where there's a miss. I call it a value leak because in your entire value stream, your leaks, they don't show up on the bottom line, right? You
Mhm.
see your budget and all these, but it is costing you in time. Your employees are disengaged. Projects don't work. We see that, but we don't connect that to the revenue because on the outside it looks like everything's working, but it's not. It's almost like if you're getting water out of your faucet and it's running slow. Sure, you get your water, but there's a leak in your house somewhere, and it's going to cost you eventually. And so I had to take the value leaks, and create this math project so they can actually calculate how much these value leaks are actually costing them. And it starts at even hiring when you're looking for new employees because you create some job role, but it's never tied to what actually is the value that this person is going to be providing. And how do you articulate that into your job role? Like you're asking all of my history. What did I do in school? What did I do for this guy last year? But you're not asking me, what can I provide for you today? That's
Yeah.
always missing from the interview process.
Yeah, like what's the return on investment? Like if I'm
Yes,
here, what value am I supposed to put into the business that's more significant than what you're paying me?
right. And no hiring manager generally they don't tell you, well, what does success look like in 90 days for me? And you ask that question, is like, but no one's ever asked me that question. And so I created a scoring process, and because I find that hiring is very important. So there's a way that you can score these things. I looked at performance management, which is another history lesson. You're performance managing me from 3 months ago when something showed up, which may not even be a problem now. But I thought, well, every baseball player at the end of the game knows exactly how they performed. Why do we not do that in terms of business? I should know what my tasks and things are that day, and I should know whether I was successful at completing those. I can dashboard this thing if my manager wants to see it, if the CEO wants to see it. It should all be available so you can see how I'm actually performing based on the value that I'm supposed to provide, as opposed to looking at it 3 months later. Then it's just your opinion. Because
Yeah.
you're not focused on that. You give me an opinion.
What's the difference between a value leak and just an inefficient process? Like, how
So
would you define the difference?
there's really no difference. It's just that this is actually a new category in architecture design, and I didn't want to cross-reference similar terms. So processes are a leak, but also handoffs. One, so the basic function of life more like is input, process, and output. So I go through that process, and through that, and I use this with troubleshooting. I understand that between these three uh, uh, parts of this process, I can tell you if my input is good, but my process is not, then I have a value leak between input and process. Where
Right.
is that? And so it just kind of simplifies those things. And so the process could be working, but you may have people who are in the wrong position to fulfill that. So the process could actually be perfect. It's just not being implemented well, or hasn't been articulated well to the people that are coming in. And so with the value leak kind of bears that out, and it'll tell you where you're actually experiencing your loss.
So it's a little bit more of, instead of like, oh, how do we optimize this process? It's more of on how do we root cause analysis, what's causing the leak, and plug up the leaks
Right.
so that we don't waste money on the wrong
Right.
thing.
And that's what they're hiring the big consulting firms to come in and look at their processes. Right? Is your Andersons, they always come in and look at your processes and go, well, maybe you can tweak this. But the underlying problem is misalignment. That's the
Yeah.
underlying problem.
So you become a backdoor OD consultant because that's what organization development consultants do. And organization development consultants, our whole mission is about alignment. It's like, how do we get like the business, the business strategy and the organization strategy and the people strategy to all align and support and reinforce one
Yes.
another, and how to deal with the handoffs and all that kind of
Yes.
stuff. So it sounds like you backdoored into my old role of what I used to do as an OD consultant. Which is what it's interesting, like how
Yeah.
all of this kind of comes together.
Yeah. As I'm saying, I don't believe in coincidences, man. So, you know, we had to bear this out. And you just kind of was the spark that had me thinking about this, because I couldn't articulate it to a degree where I can go, well, I knew the problem existed, and I work with chief operating officers who are responsible for operations. They know it's there. It just has not been articulated in a way. And they're spending a ton of money on these big consulting firms, and they'll come in and move the needle, but we'll tend to drift back because they really didn't address the underlying issues.
Yeah, I feel like there's in your messaging, like there could be a tightening up of like, so when organizations are trying to, like, I think we could add in that part around like, okay, so I
Yes.
help operations executives who are trying, maybe we need to get more clarity on the goal,
Yes.
and what they may not realize, like maybe like the problem underneath it, it's like if you were going to put the brand messaging framework together, it's like it's for whoever your ideal client is who wants X but struggled with Y and may not realize like X is the issue. And
Yes.
so like what you have in here is they may not realize the issue is that their different parts of their organization are not aligned to the customer. That's at this
Yes.
level. I think if you
Yes.
round it out and just add a little bit more, like you're solving it with like your messaging is like the solution is the strategic alignment,
Yes.
But I would just say, like, in terms of tightening up, it's like for
Yes.
operations executives who want, whatever they want, and then but struggle with from their perspective, then you
Yes.
can add in this other little piece that you're seeing, which is that they may not realize that they are losing value because they are not organized around the customer. Like that's your big
Absolutely.
idea is the
Yes.
organizations that win are the ones that are strategically aligned around the customer.
Yes.
And, all roads, rise and fall on the customer. Like that's your big idea. I think just
Absolutely.
from a messaging standpoint, because then you can be more clear on like, well, from their perspective, what do they want that they don't realize that this is the problem in the way?
Yes.
I don't know
Yes.
if that makes sense.
It does. See, I've learned to always show up with meetings with you with a pen and pen because you're always dripping nuggets, man. There's always,
We're gonna do an impromptu brand messaging
there's always
positioning
intelligent nuggets
conversations.
you drop. So, like, yeah.
So let's tease this one out. Let's do it. It's
Okay.
like, we've done on air coaching before. Let's drop into on air coaching.
Yes.
So who's the ideal client? Is it operations executives?
Chief operating officers. Yes.
Okay, so COOs. What do
Yes.
they want from their perspective?
They're looking
Like what's their
for,
goal? Their defined goal. Like where are they trying to take their business? Are they trying to scale it up to the next level? Or like where are they going? If they were going to say, I'm going on a hero's journey, that's my destination. What would you say is the
yes.
destination that they're going on?
The first one would be a consistency in deliverables or performance. And so, like,
But if they
what I've,
had that, so that might be the struggle. That might be the
yes,
problem is they have inconsistency. If that
yes. Okay.
problem was solved, what would they be able to create or achieve?
Oh, absolutely scale and quicker delivery.
Okay. So there are COOs who want scale and quicker delivery, but are struggling with inconsistencies in their performance. And what
Yes.
they don't realize that they're dealing with is that the inconsistencies are caused by a lack of alignment, strategic alignment to the customer. That's
Yes.
your context for your help. That's the strategic frame for who you're trying to, like that's what, and so then the value what you're bringing to the table. So you're all about the value, so the value what you're bringing to the table is you're going to help their a bit like it's around the goal. So you're going to help them get to the scale faster. Like they're
Yes.
going to be able to scale up faster, with less, false starts and hiccups. Like that's the
Yes.
value by helping them more quickly flip around the inconsistent performance to the consistent performance by you're consulting and coaching to help them strategically align the organization. So that's where it's
Yes.
like you kind of take the strategic frame and then you do the flip. But that's where you're like those are the pieces you need to pay attention to because the value in your value proposition. So why would they invest money in you, which is something that's important, is what are they spending on solving this problem without you? Like what's the lack of scale? Like there are hiccups in the scale or the
Yes.
inconsistencies. You can
Hmm.
help them solve it faster, and do something different. Like by aligning to the business, not only do they flip the inconsistencies to consistencies in the performance around and scale faster, but they're going to actually create more thrilling, raving customers, customers who are
Yes.
more
Yes.
excited, grow their customer base, and really set themselves up for more exponential growth rather than just scale. That could be your
Absolutely.
value
Yes.
proposition is, why settle for, why settle for scale when you can exponentially grow your business? Like that's where you're going to come in. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. Yes, it does. I
I
like
would
that.
force you to do a what I do script, like right now, but that would be like asking you to go back in time like 5 years, and I think that would be asking a lot to, to make you like, now practice this for me, dance for me, Jay, dance, practice your what I do script for me.
Yeah.
I think that would be a lot, but that would be a next step is like, I would play around with, like really nail that positioning, for
Right.
who, and what they want and what's in their way and what they don't realize it's in their way because that's what you're bringing out as your idea. Then talk about what you do, and you're really a strategic alignment strategist or something
Yes.
along those lines. And what you do is you provide like the consulting or coaching to help them flip the inconsistency
Yes.
to consistency around by helping them organize their business around the customers so that they not only scale their business to the next level, but they also do so in a way where they transform their customers into raving fans who
Correct.
will propel them to even exponential growth or something like that.
Yes. Yes. And I created this process to become a standard so that there would be licensing, training, certifications where I can actually teach people how to go into an organization and do this. Your chief operating officers, they don't have standards on how to align organizations. So it's kind of let's get these people and do these things. But not to mention the fact this would actually, because I can only be in one or two places at a time. Like I couldn't scale if I was just doing this as a consultant. But uh, providing this as a standard, an organizational standard, then I can license and certify and train folks to kind of go out and deliver this process.
That's amazing. So it's so interesting because it's not it's definitely a few clicks away from what we talked about in
Right.
business B, not
Yeah.
business A, and it would
Right.
not business C, not the but business B, it's not the same, but it's not it's a few clicks away from it. But I
Yes.
don't know if you would have gotten there if you didn't do
No
J
way.
on the
Every
Jaw
step along the
Jaw
way.
on the beach. I don't know if you would have gotten there without Jaw on the beach with his gummies and falling asleep in public, you know?
And the funny thing is, since Jay's been back, he's had no gummies. It
Yeah,
didn't
gummies
even
will
need
mess you up, man.
it.
I know.
It takes me 2 days to recover. I'm like, I don't need this stuff, man. Yeah.
I had like a couple like I did not like the gummies. Like
Right.
it's like did not work for me. I didn't miss them. They could stay in Denver, you know.
Hey, that's right.
I'm fine that it's not here in Orlando.
Yeah. But it's
So,
been yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead. No, you
No, I
were
was
saying
saying this
something.
has been it's been a fascinating journey, and to be able to kind of like your lessons has stuck with me along the way because I can always reflect back to conversations, listening to other people's aha moments, and the way which you just kind of flow into messaging, right? I mean, you're like the Chat GPT before Chat GPT was there. Like you can
Oh,
just spit
oh.
it.
I thought you liked me. I don't like AI.
No, I'm
We're
saying
not
you
a
just kind of spit it out. It comes out
okay.
where people would use like ChatGPT for that, but it doesn't come with that human.
How about just,
Uh,
like, better than AI? Let's just, like,
you
make me
are. That's what I'm
better than
saying. And that's
AI.
the thing where people think that this is going to replace humans. It cannot,
No.
right? Because there are things, inflections, and things that you just delivered, and I go, ah, and I can write that stuff down. And the information, just the way it's delivered and the inflections and things, man, it matters. And if people think that this thing can replace people, they're gonna be in for the world of hurt.
Well, and AI really does suck with, brand positioning. I've had some clients, like, say, "Hey, I really worked on this stuff," and it's like, "Here's what chat came up with." And it's like, "You're" so chat like, "Here's chat's positioning." It's like, "You're really good at helping people see around the corners, and that's your brand positioning." I'm like, "How in the world is that brand positioning? Do I know who you help? Do I know what problems you solve? Do I know how you're different?" Like, that is the dumbest brand positioning. It's like, that isn't even, like, a strength description. Like, that's a
Correct.
partial strengths description maybe around like the strategic theme on the strengths finder, but it's like, did you complete your thought? But then
Yes.
people take it and they run with it and it's like, oh
Right.
yeah, that was really insightful. I'm like, no, it's not. It's not
Not
even a
realize
complete strength theme.
if
It's not it's a fragment.
if someone asks a similar question, they're gonna get the same answer.
I know. I know. And then like chat will tell you or Claude will be like, "You're the smartest thing since sliced bread. You're so smart." And it's like, "No, that was stupid. Like you have no credibility. I don't need you to, I don't need this affirmation here. What a great question. What's the weather in like Nona right now? Wow, what a great question.
Yeah,
No.
really.
That's wow, thank you for the affirmation that I asked. Is this a good time for me to go for a walk? Well, that's really good for you that you really want to go for a walk and you want to make it part of your life. It's like, oh, for crying out loud, just give me the
Yeah,
freaking weather.
it's getting me there.
Answer the
Absolutely.
stupid question.
Yeah, for repeated tasks, sure. If you need a button press, then you need it. Yeah, it does that well. But if there's anything that requires any humanity whatsoever, and you think it can do that, man, you just, you know, I mean, you can hammer in a nail with a shoe, but a
Yeah, that's true.
does a better job. A hammer does a better job. A human swinging a
That's
hammer, it
that's
does a much
true.
better job. But
Or a human reading a book about computers for dummies and reading through the manuals when they first get there. It's like the still the human how to do that.
had
Okay,
to
so
do it.
so now you've been at this new business, is there anything that you would tell like the younger Jay that we were working with back in 2020, that like with the insight now, like what encouragement would you give him? What would you tell him?
One, to not panic. You're not going to receive all that you need at one time. It's a process, but um, walk your path. Don't walk it with fear. Accept the information that you get and don't get so defensive. But the most important thing, if something hurts, express it. You don't have to express it
Mhm.
in public, but if you need to cry, cry. You
Mhm.
know, let it out. Have the experience. Have
And
the
it feels
experience.
like that release is what got you to even that
Yes.
clarity. It was like
Yes.
holding into the emotions was
Yes.
blocking you and blocking your path.
And there have been plenty of people who told me, I just, the way they delivered the message though, because people like to soft pedal. I don't want to hurt your feelings. Well, these are my feelings. You can't hurt them. I just take information in and I kind of process it the way I want. And but no one had ever looked me in the eye and said that to me, where I go, oh, you're absolutely right. I am,
Mhm.
you know, and it
Like
happened at
I
the right time because I wasn't defensive. I could hear it. I could hear the message then.
Well, and I think some of it is because of the environment that you put yourself in. Like you
Yes,
separated yourself from your familiar environment. You were in this liminal space anyway, so it kind of created this receptivity. Like I
absolutely.
feel like that was a big part when I moved back to Orlando. I went on a sabbatical.
Okay.
Initially, it was going to be a 3-month sabbatical, turned into a 7-month sabbatical. But the hallmark of my time is I did
Yes.
a week long silent retreat. I put myself into it. I called it my what I call it? My device free, my wait, advice free, and vice free retreat. And it was
Wow.
like I literally took like the remotes to my TV, I put my phone, I put my computer, I put it in a room, turned everything off for a week. And
That's
uh and I feel like it was, like, in the silence, like, I got a lot of clarity on a
yes.
ton of stuff that was, like, holding me back, like and then just, like and then I went through this whole, like, process, like, on reclaiming, like, I was going for this walk, and I was reading this book about, like, shadow, like, what's shadow work? I'm like, "What in the world does that mean?" Like, in terms
Yeah.
of the shadow, so I'm, like, going for a walk, and I'm like, "Oh, my shadow," like, I'm looking at, like, "I wonder what's in my shadow." I'm like, "Well, I just
Right.
moved," and so I had this storage stuff. I set a bunch of stuff in my storage, I'm like, "Well, I'll look to see what's in here." And I started going through all of these old boxes of memories, and it's like that's when I really got clarity on like my brain positioning comes out of my years of consulting. I'm not a marketing person. It's like I have all
Right.
these years, and for the first time I put my credentials on the wall around what my consult I changed the name of my podcast to Consulting Matters because that is like my roots, and
Yes.
I
Yes.
got reconnected to all these different parts of myself and it was like all in the silence. And I think that there's something about when you are away
Yes.
from the other things that you can hear things that you might not have heard before. And then
Right.
you can let them
Absolutely.
down because you don't have a choice. Like, well, now I see it. Like, what am I going to do with this information?
Yep.
Like now I see it. Am I going to like keep the nail in my head or I'm going to pull the nail out of my head? Like which
Right.
one? Keep it in and walk around and say, ow, it hurts, you know? Or am I plucking it out? Like, I have to choose because now I see it got a nail in my head, and that's what's bothering me. Does that make
That's
sense as an
absolutely correct.
analogy?
Yeah, that's perfect. That makes perfect sense. I remember seeing your "I'm back" message, and I didn't know the context of it, but I remember seeing your "I'm back" message.
Yeah, I'm back it was like 3 months turned into 7 months, and it was the biggest business development, life investment I've ever made, but it was the most healing thing I've ever done. Like, I highly recommend that, and I think that there's a reason why all the spiritual leaders and writers, like, they all are walking all the time. Like, Jesus walked everywhere, like,
Yeah.
he brought his followers, he's walking everywhere, and I think
Right.
there is something about, like, journeying somewhere else. I wonder if he would have stayed in Virginia if you would have had the same experience. Like if you didn't take, because you had 33 days going across country,
Yes.
you were in a new environment. And I wonder if that really just facilitated a lot of
Well,
that.
the funny thing is, going back, I went back for my mom's birthday, and I went back to Baltimore, and I went back to Richmond, Virginia, and I didn't feel like I needed a place to make me feel at home.
Mm,
And so I'm comfortable wherever I am, you know. But nothing beats palm trees and sand, man.
absolutely. That's why I'm so
Nothing
glad to be
beats
back in
palm trees and
Florida.
sand. Right.
Nothing. No water. The
When you
sand, you
said you're
forgot about the
moving to
water.
Denver, yeah, when you said you're moving to Colorado, I'm like, boy, that is drastic. Such a
I did not
drastic move.
realize. I did not realize. I did not realize. I didn't realize how much I did not like the snow. Like it was like, oh my God, it's May and you're still snowing. I'm like, seriously, you know, get on with the program. It's summer. You know?
Right.
But here, and I love the heat here. Like I used
Yes.
to think that the humidity was a really bad thing, and now I look at
Yeah.
it, it's like, oh, my heat gives me a hug. Every time
Yeah.
I go for
Yeah.
a walk now and I'm
I'm
sweating all over
saying.
the place, it's like, oh, you're so sweet, Florida sun. You love me. You give me hugs every single day.
You're right. I have my sun time, man, every day, about four, anywhere between 4 and 5. I just go sit out by the jacuzzi, man, just sit there, hoping no one thinks I'm a pervert or anything, but I just kind of sit there and soak up the sun.
Fingers
Like other people out
crossed.
there sunning, and I'll put my headphones. I'm like, I hope people don't think I'm just staring at them and stuff. Right. I don't want to be that guy, but I'm just really enjoying the sunlight and the warmth of it.
That's so funny. Well, you and I think, could go on and on and on about
Yeah.
like tons of stuff. We probably have to wrap up at some point.
Yes.
So, how do people find out about your new business and your URL? What's their URL to your new business?
So it's opportunitysystemsinstitute.com. And all the frameworks are there. The explanation is how these things work. It's all there. Like I said, the goal is to become a business standard to replace the old industrial revolution business model so that business can function more on alignment, systematic alignment.
Can I make one other unsolicited recommendation?
Search, yes,
Also get jkylehoward.com and have that as a secondary, because that's a long
I
URL.
do. I have it.
Okay.
I have it.
Uh,
I have it.
okay.
So, yeah, that's sort of
J
my yes. I set up the
so
other one for the purpose of for the content and the strip.
uh
Let's yeah.
for your this business point, have something easier to point to. I still would say
Okay,
like Jake, pick a path. Don't have two businesses out there.
gotcha.
Integrate yourself and have J. Kyle Howard point to it, because that's a long one and people don't always
Gotcha.
remember
Okay,
the longer URLs.
duly
So
noted.
okay. So is there anything else that you want to tell me about, your journey into your authentic business ownership and how you've grown over the past 5 years? And I'm just not asking you the right questions.
I would just say thank you to you. Uh, Love, big love, and hugs to you. I mean, it's just been. I am so glad you joined me on this journey, man. I am really fortunate to have you join me on this journey. Sometimes in life you get stuff that you either don't think you deserve or you wasn't expecting, and it just comes out in such a beautiful way. You know, and I think the best flowers are grown in manure. So I don't even know what the hell that means, but it's just this has been a fantastic journey. And just to be able to look back and I read everything you put out there. I may not comment, so I almost feel like a stalker, but I'm out there just
Oh,
checking
you're
your stuff.
that guy.
I'm like,
Like you said you didn't want to be that guy, but
right, I guess I am. They peep around the tree and go, "Hey, Betsy, how you doing?" But yeah, 'cause there's
God.
always something there, and I can find something for me, and I can use that. And this has just been so. So that's it, man. Thank you for that. You know,
Well, thank you so much for allowing me the privilege to be a part of this process. And thank you so much for being on the show and giving us the opportunity to catch up, see where you're going with this. And I hope that for those of you who are listening, that you're inspired by by just the whole journey. Like there's a real inner journey, not just the external journey. And I think that that's what, for me, that's what I think is unique about my brand positioning and messaging process is it's not about marketing. It's really more about identity and bringing your authentic identity into the world. So if that is something that you're interested in, I'd love to work with you. Definitely check out my website, www.betsyjordan.com. And I think that the other part that that I hope you're inspired by as you hear Jay's story is that it's okay to evolve. Like, that you don't have to have it like perfect right out of the gate. You could change, you could grow, as long as you're kind of staying true to who you are, and all those things are going to serve somewhere along the way. So I would just encourage you to, just be inspired by that story. You get to evolve, you get to change. So, thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please, be sure to rate and review it, hit subscribe. I'm going to continue on my journey of having my Where Are They Now series, which I think is just so fascinating because you get to see it like how people grow over time.
Yes.
So until next time, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you so much, Jay, for being on the show.
Thanks, Betsy.